I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. Roberts, it's all good. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. It's all good. Get paid, get paid. Blow up like I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought.
Welcome back to the Republic of Arsenal. We're live. The missus is talking to me here about Made in Chelsea in the background. I'm doing my best to distract myself from talking about Arsenal. It's not working. She's trying. I do appreciate the effort, but I'm sorry. It has to be done. I have to talk about Arsenal tonight. It has to be done. Lads, I'm sorry. I have to drag you into this. We're having domestics about Made in Chelsea, Arsenal. Maybe she's got the right idea. Maybe I should give up the Arsenal and maybe just pack it all in, just dedicate my life to Made in Chelsea. But nah, fuck that. No, lads, there's loads to talk about. Plenty of Arsenal. We leave the Made in Chelsea to one side tonight. We're not having it. It's all about Arsenal. It's all about Arsenal. That's, as I said, so much to talk about. But just before we get into it, if you haven't done it already, do it now. That's right. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video around. It does help. Lads, I've got Scott from the Red Cannon here tonight. So Scott, as I said, look, loads and loads on the agenda tonight. So you're going to get an earful off me tonight. If you don't normally get it, you're going to get it tonight. So welcome along, Scott.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
And look, these intros are just getting worse every single time. So, I don't even know what I'm going to come out with when I start these things. So fuck it.
Just freestyle, man. Freestyle all the way.
Just go with it. That's what I do. That's what I do best. So God knows what I'll have on the telly next time I try to talk Arsenal. But Dan is back as well. So Dan, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, always a pleasure, mate. Always good to be on here with you. I'm fully prepped. I know sometimes these can get a bit heated, but no, I mean, it's going to be interesting because there's so much going on. Like even last week, there was a bit too much. It was a bit overwhelming, like I said before. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, 100%. And hopefully we will be joined. Dave, the out and out gunner, should be with us soon. I reckon he's probably been catching up on his Made in Chelsea as well, and the missus probably got to him before I could. So look, we let him away for the next couple of minutes and he'll be with us. I feel your pain, bud. I know what it's like. So lads, like I said, look, big up to everybody in the chat. There's a couple of people on here, so big shout out to everybody. I will start going through the comments. As I said, if you haven't hit that like button, please do. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, again, please do. I'd really, really appreciate the support. Keep growing this channel. And lads, I've been thinking about this all day, and I was saying to myself, as an Arsenal fan, it's one of those things we're never really short of content. As an Arsenal fan, you find yourself saying, the club has outdone themselves with this. How can they possibly top it? This last week, it seems to be going from one to another, and I'm saying to myself, when is it going to end? When's it going to stop? So, look, plenty to talk about. There's a lot of good. There's some concerning stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. I want to get your opinions, whether you're buying into the hype or not. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to try keep it on a bit of a positive note. So what I'm going to do is, first of all,
what's positive?
Believe it or not, then we do have a positive. So I am actually going to throw a positive up on screen for you now. Positive for me tonight is the fact that Made in Chelsea is off my television at the moment. So I am definitely taking that as a massive plus. And she has just walked back into the room as I said that. So maybe it's going to go back on again. So maybe don't speak too soon.
I think I know what's coming on the screen before you bring it up. Has it got something to do with... let's have a look. I've got an idea.
Yeah, I did. You snuck in early, so you got to see this. So this isn't going to be a surprise for you.
I didn't. Honestly, I just think I know what this is going to be about.
Spoiler
alert. So again, for people
I know
that
it
are
wasn't what I was
joining us,
thinking, but that is good news. That is good news.
that is good news. Again, this does go out to Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcast. Big shout out Spotify. So for the people who are joining us audio only, this is a picture of Folarin Balogun, the much hyped Arsenal youth level superstar, hopefully soon to be first team superstar. Lads, signed his new deal. Scott, how big a coup is this for the club?
I think first of all, thank you, Arsenal, for finally announcing this. What we all knew all of about 2 weeks ago. Classic Arsenal, just waiting for the right time. I mean, there was a lot of talk this was to come out last week, you know, to sort of dampen the stress of the Super League. But I don't think quite. I think it was quite enough to dampen that down. But yeah, listen, it's a great deal. I think what I take from this more than anything is that the club has been sort of sending mixed signals over the last couple of years between, are we thinking about the youth, or are we going around, you know, making little black book signings, you know, your Williams, etc. There's been a bit of a mixed bag, and I think that's been a bit of a carryover from Sven Mislintat. Struggle to say his name, but clearly, yeah, we have got an eye on the future. I'm happy it's done. Like you guys, I'm sure many in the chat, I just want to see him on the pitch and just start seeing the guy get some opportunities. But what I take from it, and I spoke about this at great length last week when it was pretty much, we were told it was done without it being done, was that, what does this mean? I'm interested to get everyone's thoughts on it, really, is with regards to Lacazette and Nketiah. My take is I don't see Nketiah. If the right offer comes in, I think we are definitely open for, you know, open to offers. Whatever that price is, I'm not sure. 15 mil, 20 mil. I mean, maybe pushing our luck a bit there. But it's the lacquer. I mean, we'll probably talk about this at great length over the coming weeks and months through the summer, because I do think that the Lacazette situation is going to drag. I think if we do sell him, I don't think it'll be, you know, bid comes in and he's gone before the Euros. It's going to drag on to the end days of the transfer window. But I do feel like it's a sign that, you know, he probably is going to be on his way. That's my gut feeling. But you know, to sum it up, it is good news. It is positive news. The positive news I thought you was going to mention was that Spurs have gone another year with no trophy. As Rich, I can see, he's putting here, the Dulux dog is the real star. Yeah, Spursy the dog. I've named that dog. He pops up from time to time, but yeah, two good bits of news, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what, I missed the trick there, because it's usually would be quite like me to jump on something like that, make a little video for our Spurs fans that tune into the channel. I know I have a lot of them, but you know, I said I'd give them a break this time. I might save it because you know, we might have something in the works with I guess you could say a viral Spurs fan that's been doing the rounds lately, looking to make his return to the channel. So yeah, we'll get something nice lined up from
back burner.
That's it. And I think we Sam Greenwood in the chat there. I'll have to bring Sam on for that one. Definitely. I told Sam I'm saving him for a very, very special occasion, and there'll be no more special occasion than to have our good friend Johnny back on the panel. So yeah, I'd be looking forward to that one. Then, what's your take on the whole the Balogun situation? I guess it kind of ties into the Nketiah situation as well, because like Scott was saying, you know, does this signal the end for one of our forwards? Is it going to be, you know, maybe Lacazette? Is this going to be the end of his contract talks? Or is it going to be Nketiah that's going to be the man to go out? And I know, what's your take? Like, which guy do you think it makes more sense to sell? You know, are we likely to get enough money to warrant getting rid of Lacazette? And at the same time, you know, what kind of fee are we looking at getting for Nketiah? Because he's not really kicked on that much.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying just last week, to be honest, after the protests, I know I came onto your channel and I was in a bit of a heavy way with the Everton game, but I watched it Saturday morning and I sort of already thought to myself, I'm a bit fed up and already quite annoyed, frustrated watching Eddie in that centre forward position. I just don't think I think he's had enough time in that centre forward position. The Balogun news is great. I don't think you can compare it realistically with Lacazette, because Balogun's still got a long way to go. We've not seen enough of him yet to know where he's going to be at when he's going to actually be in that first team role, if he's ever going to. Not to be on a negative sort of head, but we haven't seen enough of him yet to know how many loan spells it's going to take for him to reach that role. And Arteta needs to start giving him game time. We really, like Scott touched on, we need to start seeing him actually get games in now. The games we've seen him in have been great. We've seen he's done well for the under-23s, but this is a different kettle of fish. We don't know what he's going to bring, how he's going to react around certain players. We don't know who he's going to be playing around next season. You've also got to look at the perspective that Martinelli could come into a centre-forward role. A lot of people spoke about that. And in that case, you could realistically sell both Lacazette and Nketiah, which I think a lot of people are expecting this summer. I don't know what sort of money we'll get for them both. It's good news. I think it's a big statement keeping Balogun. Like Scott said, we're sort of known as the Deadwood team, buying your Javiers and, you know, those has-beens from Chelsea and whatever. I think we need to get away from that, and signing a player of Balogun's talent is sort of proving the point that we're still a team that players want to stick around at. He had enough opportunities to go elsewhere from what we heard, what we read. So we'll see what happens and how he brings on. I'm looking forward to it. I don't think next season he will stick around all season. If he does, I think a loan spell is upcoming. And obviously it depends on the transfer window. Depends what happens, because we've all spoke about how much of a different world this is we live in now. No one's really got the money. We don't know what money Arsenal have got, what they're going to get. But it's good to keep a player that we can on, because realistically, we'd have let him go on a free, and no one wants that, a player of his talent. We spoke about Eddie, worth 15, 20 mil. In a normal day, yeah, but we're unfortunately going to lose out on that. But yeah, I can't wait to start seeing him get in the team.
It definitely makes sense to renew the contract, I think, you know, given the fact that, as Sam said there in the chat, you know, apparently there was 15 clubs looking at him. So, you know, these clubs are obviously looking at this guy, and they've identified him as, you know, potentially a very, very good talent for the future. So, yeah, it definitely makes sense to Arsenal from our point of view. You know, we've been pretty lax when it's come to contracts, and you know, as we've all seen, we've let a lot of players go. You know, we spent a lot of money and we haven't regenerated an awful lot of funds back into the club. So definitely smart, I think, to tie him down. And like that, look, if it doesn't quite work out, at least you'll sell him on for something rather than lose him on a free. But yeah, Scott, what do you think? Do you see him kind of going into the first team now? I noticed he wasn't included in the under-23 squad. I'm not saying I don't think I really expect him to start against Villarreal, if I'm being honest. I still think as much as we want to see Balogun, I think Eddie Nketiah is the player that Arteta has a bit more trust in currently. He's been in and around the first team. Now, whether we as fans rate him is completely different to what I think Arteta is going to actually do. So I don't know if Arteta is going to say, right, he's committed to the club, you're straight in there for our biggest game of the season. But do you reckon it's going to be more with an eye of next season we're going to start seeing Balogun? Or as Den said, you know, do you think there might be a loan on the horizon?
Sorry, I got a bit distracted there. My missus nearly come through the roof. She's right above me. I'm like, bloody hell. My gut feeling is, I mean, for me, I've said quite a lot recently that I think Arteta is a bit risk adverse. He's never struck me as someone that will just do something really outlandish. I know we've had the Xhaka at left back and stuff like that, but I think it would be a big statement for him to just put Balogun right into that first 11 and just leapfrog Nketiah. I think that would be a big statement, and not necessarily a great sort of statement for squad harmony as well, because I don't think it's always necessarily great to send a message out that, you know, I mean, what would that say to the squad? He hasn't been playing. He signs a deal. Now I'm going to put you straight into the team. That doesn't say you've earned it. It's just a case of, oh, you're now committed. You're now guaranteed a start. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think that I think we may see him in the squads more. I would expect to see him on the bench more. You know, maybe for the remainder of the season. Obviously outside of the Europa League, so potentially that's 3 games. I don't expect him to be I don't think he'll be in the squad Thursday, but I may be wrong, but certainly I don't see him getting on the pitch. But we could start seeing a bit more of him, I think, in the Premier League sort of remainder of the season, because essentially I think it's a bit of an extended pre-season now. I think that's kind of how we're going to have to look at it. And I think although he would never publicly come out and admit it, I think Arteta probably sees it that way as well now. But yeah, like I say, it's gonna be interesting, and we got to be careful as well, because you've got to remember when Nketiah came into the team, we all hyped him up as well. Because am I right in thinking, my memory's not great at my age anymore, but didn't he come in the Europa League and he scored a goal, or he got an assist or two, and everyone, we were just hyping him up, like Nketiah was going to be the new Ian Wright or whoever.
Yeah, he came on. Wasn't it an FA Cup game? He came on and got 2 goals late on against Norwich. And we won 2-1.
Okay.
I think that's what it was.
I do remember it being a sub, but
this
is the thing. We've got to be a bit careful. Let's not put too much pressure on, because I know we've got lucky, we have got lucky with Saka. I mean, Saka has sort of, just come straight in, and no matter how much pressure he seems to be under, maybe until recently, he's just, his trajectory has just continued up. It hasn't, like fan pressure or expectation hasn't sort of stunted his development. But the majority of youngsters, it will. But what I will say with this, with Balogun is there's been a few things I think on social media which doesn't necessarily left a bit of a sour taste with the timing on certain tweets. But he does come across as a very confident young man and confident in his ability. And if you're confident, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you've got confidence in your ability, you're going to go places. So, remains to be seen. But like I say, I do think we will see more of him for the rest of the campaign. And your guess is as good as mine as to where he's going to be next season. It could go. It wouldn't even surprise me if he end up on loan next year. And silly as that sounds, you just don't know with Arsenal, do you? Who would have guessed that Saliba would go out on loan this season?
That's it. You really just don't know. I like the point you made there about what kind of message does it send that a guy goes and signs a contract and all of a sudden, there you go, you're straight into the team. When he's had, little or no first team experience. And again, look, we're all building this guy off of hype, and we want him to be, the second coming of Thierry Henry or whoever else you want to compare him with. That's what we want. But again, the point you made about Eddie Nketiah, we were all on the Eddie Nketiah train, because remember, Eddie Nketiah was breaking all the records at youth level. Eddie Nketiah was the guy released by Chelsea, and apparently the story went. Now, this guy, when he used to play in the youth team for Chelsea, he used to bang in goals against Arsenal every time they played. And when he got released by Chelsea, he had friends in the Arsenal academy who approached the coaches and said, this guy is unbelievable. And he's available on a free now. He's been released. Arsenal picked him up. And look, he hasn't hit the heights, but he's made it all the way to first team, football.
He's still young as well. He's still very young.
Exactly.
I mean, I know we've said on this channel before, and we're probably going to want to get off this topic, but Eddie, he's had years at Arsenal. I think that's where fans have just begun to thought, okay, when is this improving? And like we said before, he's a little bit of a poacher. We don't really know much more else than him than that. He's not the sort of striker that's in the middle and, can feed off another player. I think all you really mostly would get out of him is that finish here or there, which is a shame. But I think, there's been talks about West Ham. Somewhere like West Ham, they're going to need a striker when Antonio retires. He's getting old. He could work out. It may just be a case that it's a bit too big for his boots, that sort of role, because he's playing with some, I'm not saying our team has been world class this season, but he's got high expectations of him already because he's playing up front for Arsenal. So it'll be interesting to see what he's like at another team, which I definitely think I'll agree with Sam. Sam said on the comments that he has to go. I can't see room for both of them, especially when someone like Lacazette doesn't even get in the squad barely at the moment. So be best move for him.
Yeah, Eddie strikes me as he's kind of an old school striker for me. Kind of the type of striker, if you had gone back a couple of years ago when teams used to play a 4-4-2, I think he would have been lethal in a team like that. If you had him as your finisher, the problem is the way we set up the play now, we're reliant on one man up top, and we need that guy to do an array of different jobs. And unfortunately, Nketiah's skill set is, finishing, putting the ball in the back of the net. And, I mean, in a sense of he just tends to be in the right place at the right time. He's not the guy who's going to create something out of nothing. he's going to be the guy that's going to be there to poke home, a scrappy goal. He's going to be the guy that he's there at the front post to put it in. He's there at the back post. I don't think we're going to get anything more. He's that kind of a guy. I think he needs another guy up there doing the brunt of the work for him, and he's just going to be the one to finish it off. So again,
I completely agree.
Yeah, maybe he's a bit unfortunate, maybe look, he's just come up in the wrong generation. Very, very old
with him. Need someone with him, definitely.
That's what I feel. And look, I would love to see him kick on, and I'd love to see him make a go of it, because like he seems like a decent kid, but maybe what he's lacking is what Balogun seems to have in abundance, which, like Scott said, he's got that kind of arrogance and that kind of swag about him. If you can harness that in the right way, the opposite to maybe the way Guendouzi is going about things, you can turn that into a very positive trait about a player, because look, self-belief at this level is absolutely key, absolutely everything. I've seen a comment in there. It was from Scott about would you try Memphis Depay, available on a free?
We just spoke about the deadwood and the has-beens. Depay, I'm not saying he's not going to come back and achieve that. We've seen him at Man United. We've seen him at God knows where else, Lyon. That would just be another Willian situation for me. I know he's a little bit younger.
Still only 26, only really kind of coming into his prime.
I think people know his play. People know what he's about now. I wouldn't like to see him at any club in the Premier League, to be honest, because he is dangerous. But I just think, and we've got so many wingers. We've got bigger fish to fry. I'm sorry, but I'd rather give Pepe another chance. And I know he gets slander, but I don't think a left wing or right winger, even if he played up front, Depay is just probably going to be that sort of. We're going to be here next season if we signed him, saying, "Oh, that was a fail." His wages would be absolutely unreal.
Especially on a free.
Yeah, he's got experience. Like, that's the thing, but risky.
What do you reckon, Scott?
Well, yeah, I completely echo everything Den said there. I really do. I just think it's hard at the moment for us to even, certainly is for me, to even think about names in the summer, because the club is so unstable at the moment that it is hard to think. We will come on to it in a bit. I mean, the likelihood is we still will have the same owner, but the owner's mindset might be could be completely different than what it has been for the last X amount of years. We may have a new owner. We probably won't. But if the Kroenkes are still here, we also don't know, are they going to suddenly start looking to invest a bit more? There's so many question marks that this summer's going to be, and because they've got the Euros as well, this is the other thing we're all forgetting. I mean, historically, when there's been a World Cup or a European Championship, transfers just goes dead, doesn't it? Literally until it's all finished at the last minute. And I just think that I just think that it's going to be very, very interesting what's going to happen. It could be. I mean, in January there was hardly anything spent, wasn't there? Between all the clubs. So with the pandemic again, maybe the knock-on effect of the spending power of clubs, and this take the Super League off the table just for a moment. The spending power of clubs could be impacted for years. I mean, it really could. Yeah. It's just weird. So like I say, for me, I just haven't looked at any rumors on players and have thought about what are we going to do and who are we going to bring in, because I just don't know. Honestly, I have no idea.
It's something that, it never really even crossed my mind. You made a great point there about with the Euros, and when you have the Euros and a World Cup and that, players tend not to move until quite late in the window. But then, you might have your eye on somebody who you were thinking, this guy's a potential 20, 30 million. He goes and has a good tournament, suddenly becomes 50, 60 million, so there is that to take into account as well. And again, sometimes you get a couple of gems pop up in these competitions that nobody knew about. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, actually, hang on, this might be a nice alternative here that I never considered, this lad. You can get caught out as well. If you remember back in the day, the World Cup where Liverpool signed half the Senegal side, who did quite well, and that didn't quite work out for them. But
you have to not be too reactive, I think, on these European Champion World Cups. You really do have to, if you see somebody. I mean, Torreira. Do you remember where we were linked with Torreira? Was it the World Cup? and we all had eyeballs on him, didn't we? We were watching
We
every
watched
performance,
every game,
and
yeah.
he had a stormer, didn't he, in the first group game? And we were just like, this is the guy we're bringing in. He's the new this, he's the
Yeah.
new that. You can't, you know, international football is a different beast. It really is.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it really is. But yeah, look, we'll stick on the kind of the happy theme and the theme of contracts and extensions. And another name that's doing the rounds, and another positive for Arsenal is this guy here, Emil Smith Rowe, who supposedly, I know we're hearing this one for quite a while as well, but apparently he's very, very close to sign a new deal. So yeah, then how important is it that we secure the future of that young man?
I think we go back to what I said about Balogun with the sort of reputation that this team holds. There's other things as well as to why this is good, but I think just to begin with, I think players like this now, when they're getting to a severe quality, this is one of his best seasons, by far his best, in fact. So the fact that we're sort of now looking to renew his contract is quite good, not alone for the financial side of things, because what you mentioned about, you know, in a few years' time we can look to earn a big lot of money, which we're probably going to need. It's a good statement as well, because he could quite look elsewhere. I know him and Willock are on different levels of performances at the moment, but he's probably looking at Joe Willock and thinking, well, you were getting more game time than me last season, and now you're over at Willock at Newcastle performing week in, week out. And he's played a lot this season, but you got to think, if Odegaard was to stay, I'm not convinced he will, but if he was to stay or we was to sign a Cam, how much game time is Smith Rowe really going to get? So it's a big and good move for him. I'm pleased, obviously, because he's been excellent this season. He's been a saviour, really, when you look at the quality that the club have got, and we've been able to rely on someone like Smith Rowe. We've said it before. I never would have ever guessed that he'd be a player I'd be looking at and saying, oh, you know, he's the star man. But yeah, it's a big move. He's still young. I think he's a great squad player. He's seen he can do it on the wing. I was slating him weeks ago, saying that, like, on the wing, I don't like him there. But the fact that he's a bit versatile now, he's got that flexibility, helps him massively. And hopefully the deal gets signed. Hopefully the rumours are true and it sort of ends up being legit, because we go back to the pandemic. We didn't, to be honest, I don't know. I can't remember how much longer he's got on his current deal at the moment. But in terms of a young player that, like, you'd never like to see them go to like their last 6 months or 8 months on a contract, it's always good to be in some sort of high reach. But yeah, I'm excited to see him develop, because he's already shown this season what he can bring, and it's only going to get better from here, to be honest, because what we say again, he's young, so it's just going to be more and more improvement.
Yeah, he's definitely kicked on this season. And Scott, like, how good a sign is it for the future that these young lads are committing to Arsenal, and they are looking at this as, you know, a long-term, I guess, coming back to that word, a long-term project. And I'm probably going to annoy a lot of people here, but Arteta is obviously key to this. Arteta and Edu are selling a project to these young guys and saying to them, look, there's going to be interest from elsewhere, but stay with us. This is what we're trying to do. These guys obviously believe in it. They believe in the project ahead. You know, are you kind of buying into that, you know, that these guys are looking at and saying, look, there's something good around the corner here for Arsenal. There's good plans, and we want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I do. And yeah, you took the words I was going to say, is that, you know, for all the critics that Arteta has and Edu has, and for every bad decision, the positive signs, the positive, you know, the project that they're selling, there is obviously something that these youngsters are hearing that is keeping them, you know, is giving them a reason to sign. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. At the end of the day, it's the money that counts. If they, you know, if we don't offer them what they want or what they feel like they can then go on to achieve, and somebody else will, and they will be gone. I'm under no illusion of that. But ultimately, whatever it is, and I haven't seen any figures in regards to Smith Rowe or Balogun, but whatever we are agreeing or have agreed is obviously in the ballpark figure of what they're happy with, because they would, you know, there would be other clubs that would be interested in these guys. And I spoke about it on my stream this afternoon a little bit, and I said that there's a very fine line, isn't there, with youngsters, where you can't just assume that every youngster is going to go on and go on to be a great. But you have to, I feel like you have to balance that, give them enough money so they feel as though So basically more to sort of fend off the wolves at the door, you know, the quote unquote bigger clubs with more money, to keep them at bay. But you also don't want to give too much too soon, because you end up creating that monster of youngsters that come in. They've already got the flash motors. I mean, I know they all have nice cars anyway, but you know what I mean. They'll come in, they've got the amazing, they've got everything you could ever hope for at 18, 20 years old. And then, you know, everybody, not everybody has that drive and ambitions. Not every footballer you see comes into football because of the love of football. Some of them come into football because they're good at it, and it's the lifestyle that football will give them. You know, and this was something that was getting, I think, thrown at Balogun for a period of time. I think amongst our fan base, people were saying, "Oh, it's all about money. It's money, money, money." Well, it's very hard, isn't it? Because when they've got an agent, you know, that's on the phone, that's their best mate, because they, you know, inevitably they normally are these agents. And all that agent cares about is get as many noughts on that contract as possible because of their commission as well. They are, you know, youngsters are being taken down that road. And I think it's, you've got to give credit where credit's due. And obviously we haven't seen the numbers. And, you know, as I said before, in these times, it's hard to judge wages and things like that. But I do hope we haven't given them too much too soon. But I also hope there's a lot of incentives there. So it's a lot of performance-based incentives. So, you know, this is what your base salary is. But if, you know, if we achieve this, give them a reason to then want to achieve more. But as I say, you know, you have to say, well, regardless of what you think on the results side of things with Arteta, he's if the youngsters were seeing the club, I know people say once you lose the dressing room, that's it, it's game, set, and match, right? Well, as poor as some of the performance has been this year, and as poor as the season may end up, because let's have it right, if we get smashed up on Thursday, I'll be on my stream Friday, you guys will come on the phone in, we'll all be ranting and raging, season's over, Arteta out, everything else, everyone will do it, right? But if you can just take that head off for a moment, you know, you got to give credit where credit's due, because something he's saying to his players is keeping them on side enough to say, okay, well, I feel stable here. Like, I'm happy working under this manager. And for me, what that does tell me, and something that I've said before, and I think some of you have, is that it just reiterate that Arteta isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And will that change with new ownership? Well, remains to be seen. But certainly under the Cronkies, Arteta is here for the foreseeable, regardless of results.
I agree. I do agree. And as I've stressed plenty of times, it's not that it's my want for Arteta to, you know, stay as long as possible or anything like that. It's not for my want to be to have him replaced by anybody. I'm just kind of riding this out and seeing how it goes, and I'm kind of taking it bit by bit. But I am, again, as I keep on stressing, I'm very much aware of the job at hand. And again, the process. And I know a lot of people are getting pissed off at me about this, but again, look, it's going to be another debate for another night, but how long is a process? Is your process 6 months? Is it a season? Because my process is not a season. My process, as I've said from day one, with this current setup and this current model, 3 to 5 seasons. And again, I'm not saying Arteta has to be the man for the 3 to 5 seasons, but a lot of work needs to be done. So it's all a matter of perspective.
Do you know what it is? I try not to use the word process on my streams because there's such a negative, you know, feeling around that word, right? And to me,
I just like to rile the people up.
Like, yeah, it just winds people out, and I make a joke out of it, right?
And then put yourself on mute.
The word process. The problem with the process thing is there's no guarantees, is there? Like, there is. If someone says to you now, you know, Den, Anthony, Scott, you're gonna have this manager. You know, it could be a manager you dislike. Well, we're going to bring Mourinho in next week, which we'd all go be up in arms about. But he's going to get you a Champions League title in 5 years. You just sit back and go, all right, bumpy ride. But I know what I'm getting. There is no guarantees in football. And this is, I think, where people struggle, because they hear the word process. They hear the word, you know, give them time and everything else. But you can do that and you get nothing for it. You know, it's 17 years since I was a teenager when we last won the league, you know, and if you said to me then when I was a teenager, you know, you'd be going towards your 40s and there's nothing, I would have been like, what? Like, this is going to be awful these next 20 years. But that's the reality of football. Time goes quick. So I do understand when people are impatient, because that is society. That's the society we live in. YouTube is a prime example. TikTok and Instagram. It's all quick content. Quick, fast, get out, move on to the next thing. We're only here for so many years, guys. Like, you know, breaking news. We don't live forever, you know. So, you know, some of us will be around for the next 50 years, some of us won't. And for the time that you're here, you want to enjoy your life and enjoy what you're you're getting out of your life. And if football's your massive passion, people are going to be impatient because they want that guarantee. They want that I can sit along and I can take the defeats. I can take the banter from rival teams, and you can take all of that when you know at the end you're getting something. But as Spurs fans know better than anybody, you can get the banter, you can go along the process, you can change managers, but it doesn't always. You don't get what you want in life. That's how it is.
Yeah, it's like Scott said. Like, I think with Tottenham, we had a Tottenham fan on our channel last night, and I just wanted to get a quick overview of what he thought of the whole bringing in Ryan Mason. Because I've always believed grass is not greener, and I'll say this about Arteta. I said this about Mourinho. They got rid of Mourinho, and everyone said, "Why does Mourinho play such boring football?" But then under Ryan Mason, they played the exact same football. They played from the back. He said it. We all saw it. And this is what I mean. You could bring in a new manager next week. The players are going to be the same. I guarantee you they'll probably play the same football and we'll get the same results. And we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Anthony, how we've not really seen anything out of the new signings yet. We've barely seen much out of Partey. Gabriel's started slipping. It's like football with Brownie. They've just mentioned we've got to see that Arteta's keeping like a steadily ship. For me, the ship's sinking, and it has been since he was appointed. The ship hasn't realistically. Yeah, we got an FA Cup final and we got a trophy, but I don't think that really stopped the ship from sinking. I think it always has been, until we really do get rid of certain players, bring new players in, and actually find some sort of form. Because we brought in a centre back, and at the moment we've been relying on players like Holding and Marie. Even when Gabriel was in, David Luiz was probably overshadowing him. So it's a tricky one.
Do you know what it is, Den? The thing is, I said this recently. I think he was actually on my stream when I was saying it the other day, actually. But the thing is with a football club, right, is that the players are always have been and always will be the most important asset you have at your club, outside of fans, obviously, right? Because yes, and I recognise that we've had the Wengers, and we've had the Fergusons. We all recognise them days are gone. But the problem is if you've got crap players and you haven't got the depth in the squad, it doesn't matter whether you're Pep, it doesn't matter whether you're Klopp, it doesn't matter if you're any manager in their prime. You can raise players. This is what I tried to explain this the other day, and I'm going to try it again. But apologise, guys, because this might come out like dribble, like it normally does with me. But you can, if you've got a player that's got a ceiling, if you're a good manager, you'll take them close to that ceiling, whatever that ceiling may be, or near to. If you're a poor manager, you're going to, potentially going to get less out of that player. You do that across the whole squad of a team that's not that good. You can only bring them up to a certain point. Every player has their ceiling. You can only get so much out of them. But you can get, you look at City. Realistically, guys, if any of us here now are managing City this season, right? None of us would do the treble. None of us would do the quadruple. But we would all take them to the league. We don't, because you've got that depth. It'd be very hard in this season with that squad not to take them to a league title. But you can't. The same can't be said the other way round. You can't put the best managers in with the worst players. If Pep had managed Sheffield United this season, would he have kept them up? Perhaps he might have done. Yeah. Would he have got them up to 10th or 12th? No. He would have maybe got them up to 17th, 16th, perhaps, and it'll be considered a good job done. But let's have it real. 16th, 17th in the league doesn't make you a good team. It just means that would be their ceiling. That squad at Sheffield United's ceiling would never be a European place. And so, as Arsenal Football Club, the only way we're ever going to kick on, the only way we're ever going to progress up that league and be winning things again, is the squad's got to improve. And as I'm sure we'll go on to it more, squad can only improve with investment, but more importantly, consistent and investment in the right areas.
Amen.
Yeah, definitely. Fair points. And yeah, look, again, like I said, I do agree 100% the manager can definitely improve. There's an awful lot to be concerned about his decision-making, man and management, plenty of stuff. But I almost look at him like a young player, in a sense that young players are coming in, they get exposed to first-time football, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to need to build up this match experience to develop. He is, in a sense, developing as a young manager in the job. He's making mistakes. With time, hopefully, he will improve on the mistakes. And if in time he doesn't, yeah, we'll have to change it about. But look, I don't think we can speculate all we want, but I believe, and I've believed all along, regardless on whether you agree with it or disagree with it, if we get knocked out against Villarreal, which we will talk about in a little bit, I still think he's going to be here next season, probably till at least up to Christmas time, unless we have an absolute, unless we have an absolute disaster. I think it's fair to say.
I think it's like Scott said, the only way he's gone is if new owners come in and really don't like the way he's doing things. That would be the only way that pushes him out. But I think he's there to the end of the
I said this afternoon, Dan. I think even if new owners do come in, that won't be the first place they're looking. If I was coming into Arsenal Football Club as an owner and I say, right, I need quick wins. It doesn't matter what industry you work in, sales, retail, IT, like me. If you come into a team and you're managing people or a business, the first thing you want are quick wins, quick impacts. What is the littlest I can do that has the biggest impact, like biggest reaction? And yes, sacking a manager does do that. Historically, you sack your manager, you get a new one in, everyone gets a new manager boost, but then obviously you end up back at the same level. It happens every time. So you look at the squad and you go, okay, that's, okay, it's probably not a quick win, but you can see glaringly where we're short in areas. You can see where there needs to be investment. You don't need to be a genius. Sacking a manager is not going to immediately give you that.
Last piece of the puzzle.
I don't think the manager would be sacked straight away. I mean, I think he'll go. He's going to get sacked. We all know that. He's going to get sacked because they all do. But I'm going to go out on a limb here. And I said, I think it's Christmas. I think if we get off to a bad, if the summer doesn't go well, we get off to a bad start, fan pressure, and this is on the assumption we don't win the Europa League. I think fan pressure, there'll be too many people putting pressure on for the board, whoever that is at the time, and he'll be gone around about Christmas. But
I disagree with everything Sam Greenwood said there. Brilliant fan, brilliant stuff. I've seen him on your audio. But when we say tip for a relegation battle with West Ham, certain people thought he'd put him there. I wouldn't say West Ham have got anywhere near a relegation team. They've got, especially with bringing in Lingard, I think they've got a team that have, just as capable of doing what they have on paper. I wouldn't say they're okay. They've got some positions where you could perhaps say, all right, you can get better than him, but their midfield, it's not bad quality. And if Liverpool had been the Liverpool we know this season, Arsenal had been the Arsenal they've known this season, West Ham wouldn't be in top four, would they? It's just a case that other teams have collapsed. And I'm not giving any discredit to West Ham. They've been brilliant, but I think and it's the same with Sheffield United. They had a great season, but it was a bit of a shambles around elsewhere. Man City were losing left, right and centre. So if I agree, good managers do mean things, but...
Yeah, but this is what I was trying to explain. Managers do make a difference, and this is probably where I wasn't articulate enough. A manager will make a difference, but the percentage you'll gain from a good manager versus a shit manager is maybe a 30% swing, 15% improvement, 15% decline. But a difference between a Man City squad and a Sheffield United squad is like 80% on the output. If you've got a good squad, your output will always, your percentage swing will always be higher. There's a much more reward for investment in there than having a better manager. Don't get me wrong, the manager is important. I agree with what Sam's saying about the manager there. It is important. I agree, it is important. And in order to achieve success, you need everything. You need the players, you need the squad harmony, you need even in the fan base. You need a united fan base does make a difference. But I'll stand by it to the day I die. If you ain't got the players, it don't matter who's in charge. You'll only go so far.
We'll move on to the next one. Since we touched on it, we'll talk about this new ownership. Then this popped up today. We've seen the name Daniel Ek mentioned kind of over the last week. The guy who owns Spotify, apparently lifelong Arsenal fan. He said he'd be more than happy to throw his hat in the ring should the Cronkies decide that they're going to sell. And now, apparently, he's enlisted the help of Dennis Bergkamp, Patrick Vieira, and Thierry Henry. Now, to me, I looked at that and I said, this is too good to be true. This feels very media clickbaity to me. But again, the story has been picked up by Sky Sports, and by all means, I'm not saying Sky Sports, if they report it, it's gospel, but it's definitely gained a lot of traction. Are you buying into this? Are you buying into this whole, he's enlisted the help of these three legends to try get this deal over the line? And do you think Kroenke is Kroenke even going to sell? How can you buy something that's not for sale?
I mean, we've seen so much said today, yesterday, the day before. I'm a bit surprised by this. I woke up this morning and read it, and I thought, they're bluffing. This is just a bad media. And I said days ago, the protests and things will grease the wheels, but they won't get the wheels in motion. I thought it was going to take a lot longer for there to even be interest. Never mind Kroenke selling, but it's like you say, nothing can happen. Nothing can happen until the Kroenkes say, "Look, we're out. We want to sell this to you." And they might be really stubborn. If they're the Kroenkes we know, they're going to be really stubborn and not sell until it gets 3 billion to 2.8, like I've seen mentioned in the comments. It's exciting. I think it seems pretty much confirmed now that there's interest. And when you look at it, you've got to look at what Daniel Ek has done at Spotify. He knows how to run a business. It's a complete different kettle of fish running football. But if he's got those three legends behind him, I'm more than happy for it to happen, and we'll see what happens. It could get really nasty. We could just be waiting for Kroenke to just shake that hand and get that contract signed. We don't know, but I don't see how. Like Scott mentioned about the fans are back next season, so even then, I don't see how he can keep running this club if there starts being, there could be anything. There could be. People will just strike, fans will strike and not go to games, and they'll just be losing money left, right, and centre. And I hope that is what happens eventually if they don't sell, because we've done all these protests, we've gone out, thousands of us, and went on Friday, there's one on Thursday, Sunday, whatever. We've now got to really put the ball in the net sort of thing, and just say, look, we're not coming, we're not gonna sort of put up with this anymore. We're not going to give you any money, because without us, they're making nothing. They're making absolutely nothing. And he's not going to sit there and watch his club just completely rot in the ground, because he won't, he'll just be losing out. The whole family, not just Stan, Josh. You've got to look at it. But it's if they didn't have the Bergkamp, Vieira, and sort of Henri, obviously a lot of people would be like, who is this man? But I think that's made it a little bit more, exciting, and I'm starting to anticipate and think, oh, what's next? But I've got a bad feeling it's going to be a long wait, because I think Kroenke is just going to be the man we know him for, and he's going to put it down. And it's up to him. I know it sounds horrible. We all don't like him, but it is up to him at the end of the day. If he doesn't want to say, he can sit in his God knows how much living room and just sit back and wait for more to come. We don't know what's going to happen. There might be other interest from this now. Like we saw Liverpool, they had supposedly had a £3 billion offer denied. 3 billion. So the position Liverpool are in as well is just crazy. Their fans want John Henry out as much as we want him out. So it's all a bit mental. I think it's all a bit still overwhelming as well. I'm buying it after what I've seen today. I wasn't this morning, but it seems like it's got potential. It's just up to the man on the other end of the line, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the problem. The guy that holds all the cards is probably the most awkward guy we could possibly have holding the cards. But yeah, it definitely, I guess, it's pushing all the right buttons for Arsenal fans. You have a lifelong Arsenal fan who obviously has passion for the club, wants them to do well, because first and foremost, he is a fan, enlisting the help of three absolute legends. Scott, I'm just going to throw this out there. Let's say the bid goes through, it's successful. He takes over. He brings Bergkamp, Henri, and Vieira in with him. Do you think one of those guys has been promised the job if Arteta is gone?
Good question. Do you know what? I don't know. It's a great question, because I spoke about this topic. I did a whole stream on it today, and I spoke about probably everything but that. I suppose there is potential for there. I hope not. I hope not. I don't want to see. I've said for a long time, I never want to see Thierry Henry managing Arsenal. I don't want to see Bergkamp. Well, yeah, Bergkamp I think has got more credentials, but again, I still don't want to see it, because every manager has to get sacked. It always goes tits up, for want of a better phrase. It always has to happen. And when that happens, there's always going to be people that are going to be negative to those players. Because also, the other thing, I noticed this with the whole Ray Parlour thing, right? I actually ended up supporting Arsenal because of Ray Parlour, and there's a story behind that. And if you want to know about it, I'll tell you another day. The younger generation that didn't really see Ray Parlour play that much were the ones that were probably, I mean, I'm not saying everybody, but there was probably a lot of youngsters that didn't really know much about Ray Parlour, but they're a lot quicker to get on his case. The same will be the case for other legends. When you have a player that played in an era that you're too young to have experienced, you'll never have that same connection. I haven't got connections to players from the 70s and 80s because I've only seen clips. I didn't see them week in, week out. And the same goes for the 90s and noughties. And I don't want to see my heroes, because these three guys particular are heroes of mine growing up. I don't want to ever see them get hatred and you see it with Solskjaer. There's plenty of United fans that are turning on each other, and you see some of the things that those United fans say about him. And I mean, let's be real, he was only a legend because he got a flick on, but at the end of the day, he's still a legend for that flick on in that final. And I think it's quite sad to see. So no, I don't want it to happen. And will it happen? It would definitely be an option if the three guys are on board or in the background, and potentially, but yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it just seems a little bit too kind of PR stunt for my liking. And if it does go ahead, do you want me to
tell you what I think about this on that?
Yeah, of course, go for it.
Yeah, so I spoke about this earlier. So I saw your tweet about the clickbait. And absolutely, like it smells of clickbait all over. I did a stream on the weekend when it first, because obviously the timing, the tweet that come out from the Spotify guy was literally right in the middle of the protest, or it was shortly after. So at that point, I went on stream on Saturday and said, look, guys, take that with a pinch of salt. It's PR at its best. Saying I'm a lifelong Arsenal fan. I completely was very blasé about it and said, look, that's just going straight over my head. I'm not getting sucked into that. But I got to hold my hands up, guys. I got up this morning and read that from the Telegraph and seeing it on all the media companies. And I sort of did a bit more thinking, and I'm like, okay, they're saying there's some seriousness behind the bid. A lot of fans are saying, well, he doesn't have enough money. His net worth is worth this. Well, that's a load of crap, because you can't, Google doesn't know. Google will tell you their net worth, but how live and accurate is that? You don't need to have 4.8 for 3 billion down the sofa to be able to go and spend 2 billion. He wouldn't do that. He would go and borrow the money. So that's a non-starter for me. So if you're going to rule it out on his net worth, forget that, because if he wants to buy the club and he's already got approval to get the money, it's not what you're worth, it's what you can borrow. I've got a mortgage, but I'm not worth that money, but the bank are willing to lend me it. So that's a bit of a non-starter. But I do feel that there's legs, and this is my prediction, right? So I think a bid is going to go in. I think a bid's going to go in, and it's going to be immediately rejected. Absolutely. And no serious businessman is going to go in and do a bid with what they can afford. You're going to go in lower. So what we're going to find out here with the Cronkies is, we say that the Cronkies are all about business, right? Are we all in agreement? They're all about their businessmen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, now we're going to find out if they're businessmen, because if they are businessmen, it's all about business. They will look at Arsenal. They'll look at their asset. They won't give a shit about what we've done with the protests. I know that. And I was one of the people that was there. But if they're businessmen, they'll look at it and say, right, the Super League's off. There's no guarantees that Super League's coming back in. There's potential for the government to step in. I've signed a petition today that's up to about 60,000 signatures for the 50+1 thing. I urge you guys to sign it or look it up. They'll look at that and go, okay, well, that's off the table for the moment. Might be 6 months, might be a year, may never get through. So that's a big issue for them. They're looking at the club. What is it, like 200-300 million we've lost this year, and it's going to be more next season.
So far, yeah.
Yeah. So they're looking at that. If they factor that in, they factor in that they turned down Usmanov's bid, which I think was 2 billion. And the rumours are, if this bid goes in, it's at 1.8. Well, it's not 1.8. If they're going in at 1.8, they're probably thinking we'll go up to 2 and a bit. So if the Cronkies are businessmen, they will have to seriously consider it, because it will be a case of, this might be the best opportunity to cash out. However, if they're not businessmen and it's all about ego, which is, again, if it is about ego, and billionaires have egos, the ego side of the Cronkies will be like, no, we're not doing it. We've never sold any other businesses before. By all accounts, as much as they don't care about us, they do see it as a massive thing on their portfolio. When they go to the banks, when they're building stadiums, having I've got a Premier League football club that's not only the third biggest club in England, but is in the heart of London, like the location, everything. So if the Cronkies are businessmen, I think they are going to be open to offers. But if they're just going to go down the ego side of things, it's like, no. Because the other thing you got to think of is the Spotify guy is worth less than them. He will look at them like as smaller fish, like, oh, I'm selling to someone that's worth less than me. That's where the ego comes into play. But going back to what I said at the beginning, I do think there is legs behind it. The biggest question is are they going to be open to negotiating? And I guess time will tell.
While you were talking there, I see a good comment actually, and it's something I thought of. Shout out to Brownie in the chat there. Imagine if he partnered with Dangote, and I thought about that earlier, and I said to myself, you know what the Cronkies are going to want is they're going to want a bidding war. They're going to want, you know, this guy to, you know, they want this to develop legs, you know, and it's developing the traction now, and the story's out there, and everyone's saying this guy is going to buy Arsenal. He's teamed up with these legends, and now we're waiting, and we're sort of going. Dangote has been saying all along he's going to make a bid, and he's going to buy Arsenal in 2021. So we're kind of sitting here going, okay, what's he going to do now? So we can imagine Stan Kroenke sitting there going, right, happy days. What's this guy? He's supposedly offering 1.8 million. Well, Dangote's going to come in with 2. This guy's going to have to up the offer. Dangote's going to come back again. That's what he wants.
Plays into Kroenke's hands, doesn't it? If that
100%.
happens,
100%.
The other thing is, Anthony, is the other way of looking at this, and this is what I touched on this afternoon, right? I'm thinking outside the box here a little bit. This is how I work. Is that I don't think when I did my stream Saturday, I was very clear. I was like, look, you know, and you can go back, you can see I said it, and I said, look, no genuine businessman is going to go out on Twitter and hype people up. Like, if it's a real deal, it gets done behind the scenes, and then it's just done. The first time you hear about it, the deal's done. And to somewhat, I still believe that. But I don't know. I just have this gut feeling that there must have been. You don't start putting yourself out there without having something behind the scenes, some sort of intermediary. I feel like somebody has felt the Cronkies out, and this guy, what's his first name? The Spotify guy, what's his first name?
Daniel Ek.
It's Daniel.
Is it Daniel?
Yeah.
Daniel Ek. Okay, so this Daniel Ek he's got feelers out somewhere, and someone said, look, listen, it might be doable. It might be doable, and with that in mind, because I just don't think you would. I just don't think you wouldn't. But you wouldn't waste your time speaking to Arsenal legends, and that's a great PR. That's a great PR thing, by the way. That is like perfect because what that's done. No matter what happens out of this, whether a bid, I mean, if a bid goes in and they reject it and they immediately say, look, we're rejecting it and we rebuff it and we are behind Arsenal and we're going to do, they have literally now, we can just thank Spotify. We say, thank you very much, because what you've done, we've got this fire that's building as a fan base. And what you've done is you've just chucked 10 ton of petrol on that fire, because if he rejects the offer or it just completely, you know, kills the idea with Arsenal legends involved. I mean, how much more perfect can a fan base have? A supposedly Arsenal fan bringing in Arsenal legends. It's PR perfection. And if he knocks it back, that's just gonna make that fire 10 times worse. So the worst that can come out of this is that more pressure is going to get applied to the Cronkies for as long as we need to keep doing it.
And that's definitely not a bad thing. And just while we were talking, Dave has joined us. So Dave, you finally finished up that episode of Made in Chelsea there, did you?
No, I was watching the reruns there of Desperate Housewives. So.
Oh yeah, hey, classic. Yeah. I have all the DVDs. if you need a lane, give me a shout.
There was Love Island, really.
Yeah, actually, here, me and Dave, right, being Irish, we have no Euros to look forward to. So, Dave, we're going to be doing watch-alongs of Love Island or something. If anybody is interested in tuning into the channel, there's going to be no football. It's going to be Love Island, Made in Chelsea, Desperate Housewives, whatever you want. We got you covered.
A boycott for the summer.
Okay. I'll have a pint in the boozer for you both.
Well, you're too kind. No better man then. But yeah, Dave, look, bring you into the conversation. We just kind of touched on the potential new ownership bid that's coming in. Daniel Ek and Spotify kind of said our piece about it. You know, we teaming up with the legends Henry, Bergkamp, Vieira, and that. But yeah, as Scott was just saying, you know, if a bid comes in from these guys, like these guys are ticking all the boxes. This is everything an Arsenal fan wants, you know, an Arsenal fan looking to buy the club and bringing these passionate guys with them who want the best for the club, know what it's like to be successful with the club. Some of the best players we've ever seen, not just at our club, like hands down, some of the best players I've ever even seen touch a football, absolute legends. If a bid is rejected with all the pressure already on Kroenke, surely that's going to make it 10 times worse. With these protests coming up, like surely his position is going to be untenable there. And, do you think it'd be more likely now that it's going to add pressure enough that he might just say, look, it's time to throw in the towel and get out of here?
Look, maybe so, Ant, because was he looking at the Super League as one more big payday off Arsenal? What text videos? I've never heard of it. But no, was he looking for one more big payday with the Super League? And now that's happened, that's not happening, I might throw in the towel. Look, the pressure is there. Imagine if he rejects a bid and says he's not selling, the chaos that'll be going on outside the Emirates after that. It'll be crazy. Scott, you will be on 1 million subscribers after that if we have to go down to another protest. No, look,
do you know what it is, mate?
does.
Like, shut the red cannon down all day long. If that, I would give up anything I've got in related to Arsenal. But the club's all about the club. But yeah, you're right.
You know what,
That's
actually,
what happened.
lads, in terms of the protest, actually, we might as well touch on the idea of the protest. I've seen a couple of dates being mentioned. I've seen the 2nd of May. Then I've seen the 6th of May. And big shout out to
two games on, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, but I want to give a big shout out to Albert JTV, good friend of ours, who suggested today. I know he was following up on something he'd seen himself and heard that maybe on Sunday the 9th we have a 7:00 kickoff. Might be a better shout to go with. What do you think? Because I've seen a lot of people are saying, look, just keep it going, go with the momentum, go with the 2nd. But then the other side of it is we don't have a game that day. Then more people are saying go on the 6th, but then you potentially disrupt the biggest game of the season. What are your thoughts then? What do you think? I think we have to go with it. I think we have to run with it. But when do you think is probably the best time to do it?
I mean, I'll be watching the game on Thursday, probably doing a pod at some point as well. But yeah, like you said, it's the biggest game of our lives. And with so much going on at the moment, I agree we've got to keep the clock ticking. I think but I just want to bring up as well what Scott was mentioning earlier and what Dave said as well. Kroenke is not exactly on his knees at the moment. He's not sitting there waiting around for us fans. We can be here forever. Which is the sad thing about it, week after week. I know there was rumours that Bellerin was apparently looking out from the stadium at some of the protests and what was going on. But the people we want to see this, they're not going to see it until they really get people firing, It's
I wish
a shame.
they had a bigger fan base abroad. I know Troops was trying to rally some people up. I don't know what, I was watching a podcast someone done. They said, if there was some big fan groups in the US that were in an area, obviously US is huge, right? But we're in the area which is near the Rams or wherever, I don't know what his franchise is, that would be like a rocket up his fucking ass. If he literally looked out of his office and he had like even 100 people, 50 people on his doorstep, all of the American stations, Fox, NBC, DAZ, and all of them, they would be like, whoa, what's going on? Who are these? What? These people are coming, and they'll think they've come from London. They'll be like, they've come from London. Like,
funny enough, I was watching a series called Dream Team, which is in the UK. It's
I remember that.
On Sky 1 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been I always catch up on it because I just loved it. And I don't know if you remember Manchester United. What the fans did was they raided Eli Knox's like casino homes and everything. They just went everywhere, all out, and they just not just Arsenal. They just completely ruined his life. That is something that needs to happen if we really want to get into Kroenke's head, because he's not listening to our protests. As much as I want us to carry on, continue, it's going to take much bigger, like not just sacrifices. It's going to get to a case of strikes from games, like I mentioned briefly. And at the moment, the problem is we want a war. Like a bidding war is probably something he wants, but most clubs are under the fire at the minute. Liverpool are probably looking for new owners. Man United have just had Woodward leave, so something's going to probably happen there. We don't know what's going to happen. Chelsea are going to probably be the only team that are in a real position where you can look and say, "Oh no, I think they'll be all right." But there's a lot of teams that people that want to get invested in football teams. They can just look at and say, "Oh, there's potential there. There's potential there." At the moment, we're probably at the rock bottom due to the fact that Europa League will change things. If we win the Europa League, it's a different task, different gravy. they're going to have to come in, and they know that there's a bit more stuff to play with, if you get what I mean. Whereas at the moment we're just technically any other side. So this is why Thursday is massive. I don't imagine there'll be a big turnout if there is on Thursday. I know there's been a lot of talk of it, but I just can't imagine that it'll be the turnout that will even be anywhere near enough for some sort of. I mean, Friday was great, like brilliant. I was really impressed with the outcome, but I think if we're going to go, it has to be Thursday's just too important for me. We need the fans need to have their head down, because it's not going to be an easy ride for us, and most importantly, the players. I don't think they need that outside the stadium, or out even if people go do it in Villarreal. It's just something that they don't need. Get through this semi-final, and then I'm all pleased. To be honest, league games, the world's your oyster. At the moment, you've got to.
With that, touching on that, guys, is we're kind of in a catch-22, because if we win the Europa League, he's 100% not selling, because then he's going to let his value on the club go up, you see, whereas if we don't win the Europa League, the club is kind of, the value is dropping a little bit. He's going to look at himself, look, there is a potential buyer there. Do I pull the plug now, or do I wait and see? But then,
Dave, how much value would you place on 1 year in the Champions League? Because let's be real, it's only 6 games and then we're out. I mean, surely when you're talking about billions, if there is negotiations going on, all he's going to do is just slap on another 50 or 100 mil on the price, which when you're talking billions isn't actually a massive, I get what you're saying, but I think if the right offer comes in.
I guess
think,
maybe
with the right offer,
instead of it maybe adding to the overall value, maybe it's sort of, in a sense, it makes the workload you're purchasing a little bit easier to kind of get off the ground, if that makes sense, because you're buying a club, and let's say we've no European football, so you're obviously looking at investing more of you buy the club for whatever you buy it for, and then you're saying, right, that couple of 100 million I saved on the price, now I need to pump that into the team to get us back to that level to get Europe again. Whereas maybe if we do get Europe, you're purchasing it for a bit more, because you've got this European football, but maybe your project is it's kind of got a bit of a head start. You're a more attractive proposition.
I don't think the Champions League will have any impact on what he would do, because we were in Champions League all those years, and when Usmanov put a bid in, he didn't at that point. They've been angling for that Super League, as Dave said before. Like that was the big prize. That's what they've been holding out for a long time. And the plan was, I saw somebody tweeted earlier, I can't remember who it was, and they made a great point, that the reality was they were probably going to get us in that Super League, and then they were going to start trying to tout to sell us, because again, I've got this and I've got this guaranteed income, that I can give you as a product. But can I just touch on the protest thing you was just saying there?
100%.
So obviously, as you know, I made it to the last one. I can't make the 6th of May one. It's my birthday, so no doubt I'll be out during the day. But I think that I don't think we're going to be able to get that many people coordinated as well again. I think that's going to be the biggest protest we have, sadly, because it was perfect timing. Friday night, the weather was good. Everyone's still raging about the Super League. And almost to a certain point, there was a bit of ego there where it's like, right, Tottenham did the most pathetic protest you've ever seen. Chelsea had a good go. Right, now let's just show you how the big boys do it. There was ego there as well from people. And I do think that, I'm seeing it come on my timeline. I'm seeing the 2nd of May. I'm seeing the 6th of May. The fact that there's 2 dates already is halving your possible amount.
Yeah,
so
and now there's a 3rd date as well.
So, and then you've got to factor in, I saw the video Albert did, and big up Albert, by the way, and he mentioned about the Sunday. Again, Sunday, you're limited. For someone like me who's 2 hours away, there's going to be less travel opportunities. Not everybody... I would imagine out of the 4,000 or 5,000 people were there was probably a couple of thousand people like me that don't live in North London that have had to travel in. I knew someone that came from Leeds. Well, getting from Leeds on a Sunday is not going to be as easy as on a Friday. So the Sunday one, I don't know, it remains to be seen. But I think some pressure is better than no pressure. And I urge anybody, if you can make it, people like yourself, guys, obviously, you can't get out of the country, so you ain't got no choice. But if you are local and it is an option to you, if you didn't make it to the last one, as I said earlier on my stream, I need you to chip in for me. I can't make the next one. It's a team effort. We've got to do it together. Nobody's expected to go to every one, but if you can make it, just go and do your bit. And
every little bit helps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
every little bit helps. 5 protests of a small amount is better than 1 big protest and nothing. Because what they're going to do is they're going to look at that and go, oh, they've got it out of their system now. They're all pissed off about the Super League. They've been down. They've had their big rut, and now they're just going to crawl back in under their whatever, and we're just going to go quiet. But when they see us come back out again and again and again, that will make more difference.
I think the positive thing about it is as well is that it's not. I think the writing's on the wall that they will sell up eventually. I think like a lot of people have said, even Ian Wright came out and said it's too little, too late now. Nothing can fix it. It's just a matter of when, not if, when. And we could be waiting for some serious time. So yeah, I agree with Scott there. If you really are in a position where you can go every week, go and do it. And I'm a bit worried for what the players must be feeling right now. I can't imagine what my head would be like. If I was someone like Xhaka or Louise and I knew this was all going on outside, it's got to get to you. Xhaka had a baby on Friday and he went out and played 90 minutes. And then you know that all that stuff's happening. And I know he's not the captain anymore, but he's probably one of the players that I think probably does look at things like that, a bit like Bellerin. He just wants to play for a bit of a team where he knows things are going well. And at the moment, it couldn't be more of a shit show. Super League's gone, so we thought, things would be positive. Now it's made things 10 times worse. If anything, it's a bit of a new story for us all.
Another thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Just to touch on the Cranky thing as well, and the potential bid. So, like, you look at it as we get the bid in from Spotify or whatever, and that's in process. Like, we're probably will we see any movement in the summer from the point of view of investment and that kind of thing? Is Cranky probably won't invest in something that he's selling. Why is he going to spend money on it? So then we're kind of looking at if we don't get into Europe next season, we're in a situation where next season that's probably going to be something similar to what we're seeing this season, and then you're going to have questions kind of like the manager is kind of living on his Europa League run at the minute for a loss. Now, look, I back the manager, and I'll say that openly, but is he going to get another free season next season when you have a potential bid going on where there's going to be no investment going on? I can't see people giving him another free season regardless of this type of thing going on. So you've kind of there's different subplots to put into it as well, that we probably haven't even considered at the moment.
It's the Mike Ashley effect, isn't it? Look how much Mike Ashley's been trying to cash out his chips at Newcastle, but because he knows he wants to cash out, he doesn't want to put too much in. He wants to just do the minimum and get out as quick as possible. And if the Cronkies are thinking of going, that is just going to guarantee even less help and less investment.
Yeah, and look, they're not gonna come out and tell us, we're looking to sell. They're gonna keep coming out and they're gonna keep saying, we're staying, we're gonna invest, we're gonna do this, that, and the other. Because as soon as they come out and say, yeah, lads, look, you won, we're off, straight away, that's when people are going to go, oh, cool, we can knock a couple of 100 million off this because we know they're desperate to go, they're desperate to sell. So they're not going to tell us that. But just before we move on, like that with the protests and that, definitely, I agree. Like what everyone is saying, we need to keep it going, and definitely look, a smaller number of protests and a lot of them is better than just one big one, because they just sit there and they go, okay, yeah, they're not happy, but everything's cool. We rolled it out. We got it out of the way. Got a bit of media coverage. Now everything is fine. And I think I can see the argument. People are saying, well, do you want fans outside the stadium protesting on a big match day like that Villarreal, biggest game of the season? Do the players need that distraction? I'm kind of looking at it from a sense and going, how badly are the players going to be affected? Because let's say
it could motivate them. It could really motivate them.
It might do, but at the same time, you're a player, playing for Arsenal. You used to playing in front of 60,000 pretty hostile fans at the Emirates at the best of times. You show up and there's 2,000 fans outside, a couple of flares, a couple of chants or whatever. Is it any worse than showing up playing at White Hart Lane at an away game? Is it any worse than showing up at Old Trafford for an away game? When your team bus comes in, you're going to get jeered, you're going to get booed. At least you have the safety and all. Once you get through those doors, there's nobody in the stadium. So I don't really know if I buy into this whole distraction because
It's a tricky one because you will say if you were a player, you wouldn't want to play Old Trafford every week, would you? Because effectively, that's saying that they're walking into Old Trafford every single Thursday, Sunday, whatever.
but that's on a you know what I mean. There's a hostile Old Trafford, and then there's what went on outside the stadium.
I think
and
it
what
depends.
went on.
Depends on the player, doesn't it? I think it does depend on how if you're someone like, I don't know, let's talk Saka, Smith Rowe, and Ketia, who's playing up top at the minute. They're not going to have their head on for that sort of stuff. It might be a bit overwhelming for them, but those players of experience, they've probably seen much higher stuff go on. We've seen big things happen in football this season. You've seen the social media boycott happen next weekend. They're not going on social media next weekend. That's something that's probably going to affect them alone because they're like, they haven't got their phone and they're not used to it, and it's probably going to be a bit of just a bit underwhelming and overwhelming at the same time because it's like, I can't believe I've been led to this. Like, even just me as a normal human being, doesn't play football, doesn't have that fan connection throughout social media. You go score a goal, you can't, post what you'd normally post straight after a game. Little things like that does affect your head. But I think you're right in terms of they should be able to just walk through and just think, look, this is happening outside. Let's go and win it for these boys.
Yeah, well, look, especially if it is out on social media. For example, you've been given a time of 6 p.m. There's a protest. If I'm working at the club and I'm responsible for getting these players in and out, I'm saying, lads, you need to show up here at 4 because this is going on outside.
That's what they done Friday.
Exactly. Get them in. Okay, you can hear it going on outside the stadium, but you can't physically see it and they're not coming into the stadium. At least that's not spilling over into the stands and, you can play your game. And yeah, I completely understand the inexperienced players could be a little bit rattled by it, but I'd like to think it's not going to cause the team too much. And I don't think our players need that excuse of saying, well, we were, a bit rattled by what went on because I think too many players in our team have too many excuses. I don't think we need to give them any more. But lads, I am going to keep this on, I guess I call it a little bit of a heated kind of theme here. We're going to move from the protest, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Now, we heard that this guy got a payoff. I think it was approximately 7 million, and a story has come out today. We are still paying this guy wages. What the hell is going on with this? Dave, what is the story? I thought this guy was paid off the books. I'm finding out today Arsenal still paying a portion of his wage.
Yeah, I think it's something like 90% or something they said.
315 grand.
It's crazy. Like, it's still even when he's not here, he's still in the headlines and the conversations. Look, if it was they probably wanted him out, and there's so much talking going on, and why isn't he in the match day squad? Are they going to register him in January and all this thing? Look, I don't know how much of an influence was he on the training ground. There was talks of the leak as well. Was he the leak or the mole, as Arteta put it? Like, was he that? And did they want to get him out? I'm not too disappointed. Look, he was either going. He's going there now, and he's gone to Fenerbahce. He's happy. He's playing games. He's away from the training ground. He's not causing trouble with us. If he wasn't going to get the right deal for him to go to Fenerbahce, he was just going to sit with us for the rest of the season and just not play. So I think it's kind of I don't really mind too much. Look, and then it's just that money is there in the summer. We weren't going to really do anything with those extra wages in January anyway, so it's just a matter once that's there for the summer, he's out of contract, and then that's it. But I think, yeah, it's more annoying when you see his name popping up again and again and again, even though when he's gone, it's just that saga. Thought that saga was over with, and I suppose the less said about it now, the better, and then we can move on from him and then go into the summer. Hopefully, look, we're going to get players tied down to contracts out of the wages that we're going to be saving on him. Look, Smith Rowe will get a pay rise. I don't think is there any harm in giving Saka another pay rise again, just to tie him down again. He's only, I think, on 40,000 at the minute. He's nearly probably justifying another pay rise. Just to. You don't know who's going to come knocking as well, So, yeah, look, there's a lot that can be done out of his wages, but as far as it goes with the 90%, no, I'm not worried about it too much. I'm just glad he's gone, to be honest.
I definitely echo that. I'm glad to see the back one, but yeah, that's why the reason why I brought this up, because he seems to. I actually forgot about him. He'd completely gone out of my mind, and I'm going to be honest here. This might piss a lot of people off, but I've noticed my timeline on Twitter has gone very, very quiet with regard Mesut Ozil, and I think I've seen a big drop off in. I used to always say there's Arsenal fans and there's Ozil fans, and suddenly the Ozil fans associated with Arsenal have moved on and are no longer Arsenal fans, and I can see that on Twitter because I haven't unfollowed anybody. Everybody seems to have just moved on, and it just seemed to all died down a little bit. But his name popped up the other day, and look, in fairness, he knows how to play the PR game. He knows how to keep himself relevant, and it was a little dig at Spurs. He tweeted, the cabinet remains dusty. But the moment he tweeted that, I'm going, oh yeah, Mesut Ozil, and then that was only yesterday, and now today the story comes out from Ornstein. We're still paying wages. Like when are we going to be rid of this guy?
For me, it wasn't a surprise. This is no news to me. I'm pretty sure. I don't know whether it was a legit. Well, now it turns out it was legit. But when I read that he was leaving, I did read somewhere that will be paying his wages till the end of June, I think it was. So I sort of vaguely knew about this, just based on when you read these sources here or there, and I had a feeling it wasn't a full transfer. I knew we were paying something, maybe not 90%. I'm a bit rigged by that because obviously there's money that can be gone elsewhere. Like Dave was saying, your Saka, your Smith Rowe, all these young players on 40,000, 30,000, and he's there taking 300 grand off a team he's not played for in God knows how many years. I'll be honest, I liked the tweet yesterday or whenever, yesterday afternoon, but my days with him are done. I completely echo what Dave said. It's getting a bit boring, just the fact that we keep going back and forth. I unfollowed him off my socials. I think his time at Arsenal should have been 3 years ago left. I think most people will probably say that now. I had a lot of stick from some of the stuff I said about Ozil. A lot of fans were saying, "Oh, you don't recognise what he does." I didn't get to see it for majority of his last 2 years. He barely played in the team, and like Dave said, whatever happened in the training ground, that's for more people to know and us not to. But yeah, it's history, and I'm not surprised, but I did read something when it first got announced that he had gone to Fenerbahce. I did read that we were still paying him till June. To me, that's just annoying because definitely. If we're going to pay that, we may as well just keep him there if he's got some sort of influence, because 10% can't be much on the 350 grand. Fenerbahce are not a bad side. They're Turkish, really. Like they've usually got some sort of money there. It is. I'll bite the bullet sort of thing because I'm not too arsed. We've got players there that we've got Odegaard in who's doing a much better job than he did. Ozil wasn't playing like I just mentioned, so it's a Fenerbahce because they've had a right little treat.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know how good he's playing there. I can't say I've really kept up to speed with his performances, but.
Look, this is why I brought it up, because as much as I didn't want it, and as much as I'm very much in agreement, I was well over the saga. I had unfollowed on all my socials as well, and it was nothing against the guy on a personal level, but as I said, he just knows how to play the PR game and keep himself relevant. And I was just ready to move on, and it got to me a little bit that stories are still coming out. So I just said, look. You know what I'm like, lads. I like to keep the conversation as heated as I can possibly keep it. But I'm gonna be nice to you now, and I'm gonna bring around something that hopefully is gonna make everybody smile. A bit of nostalgia here with this guy on screen. Great news today that Thierry Henry inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. So look, I don't think there's anyone associated with Arsenal that can be in any way upset to see that and hear that. Like, what an unbelievable player. My favorite player of all time. Growing up as a young kid, I wanted to be Thierry Henry. I used to wear the number 14 shirt playing football. I remember I can only think of how awkward I must have looked. I used to have the socks pulled up. I used to try everything I could to replicate. And you know what? I'm Irish. He did what he did against Ireland. And I still can't hate on the guy. I just can't. For everything he did Dave, I don't know. Maybe you might be different, but I cannot look at the guy in a different light. You know, to me, he is, you know, everything that was special about Arsenal for me growing up. Like Thierry Henry, I don't think I could ever give him enough credit. Would I like to see him someday as Arsenal manager? No, I'm not going to go that far, but I would love to see him come back to the club in some capacity. But yeah, Dave, what do you think about Thierry Henry in terms of? We put Arsenal aside for a second. Have you forgiven him for that handball?
Yeah, I never. I didn't ever hate him. I was probably sickened at the time or whatever, but the way I was looking at it is, and the way I'd say it to fans of other clubs, you know, that I'm friends with and whatever, Robbie Keane would have done the same thing down the other end, and we'd be selling. He'd get a statue, and the hand of God he'd get if he done it for us down the other end. So look, all's fair in love and war, as to say no, but Thierry Henry is the reason why I support Arsenal as well. The reason why I started supporting Arsenal. I think he's the best player to ever play in the Premier League. Look, Ronaldo's gone on, but Ronaldo's kind of went up that level and became kind of the greatest, I suppose, at playing with Real Madrid, you know. But as far as the Premier League goes, Henry's the best for me. Yeah, and then what annoys me and what I do the annoying part of Twitter is, do you ever see these kids calling players like Henry and Shearer they stat padded against poor teams and all this rubbish? My God, it's hard to
That
look at
team that
times.
he was up against were fucking quality.
Yeah, I mean
All the teams,
the
all the
guy
teams
scored
were good.
against he scored against Spurs, Liverpool, Man United. He scored against Real Madrid, Inter Milan, Roma. Like, you
Real
know,
Madrid.
come on, like stat padding. I mean, the
The
guy was unbelievable.
I think the fan thing came as a bit of a shock, though. I'm disappointed in the fact they're leaving it up to the fans. Not that I have no trust in the fan base, but I think they should just stick to their roots, you know. Because from what I
These were him and Shearer though? They weren't done on the fans.
no,
That
they
was done by the
weren't.
Premier League.
No,
No,
yeah,
no.
they were picked, but the next one there is based on our.
Yeah.
I was quite impressed to see how many other, as well as Henri, though. I was quite impressed to see how many nominees there were from an Arsenal point of view. You know, you got your Campbell, your Adams, your Vieira, your Bergkamp, your Wright. I think that just shows how low we've come. Because right now you couldn't realistically put that many players in like the best team of the last 5 seasons, if we're honest. Whereas you look back then, we had so many phenomenal players, and that nomination list just proves a point. But yeah, I think the fan thing is going to because it's defeating the object, really, because, you know, some could not have a bloody clue. They could just pick a player they like the look of. I'm not saying that's what will happen, but it could be a real big shock to who actually gets given one of these, and it will sort of defeat the object of what it's all about and what it means and what it's meant to mean. And Henry and Shearer deserve it by far. I'm not the biggest Newcastle fan, but Shearer as well was an unbelievable striker. And again, it's not about stats. I've seen some sort of rants here on the comments, and people are saying, "Oh, goals win games." Yeah, but I've seen a lot of players win games that I would never put in my first 11. Never mind. So it's just a case of what they do elsewhere. Henri could have scored 20 goals. I'd have still found him one of the very best in the league and the world.
But another thing as well, and is I'm just going back to the takeover thing. When you see you have Daniel Ek has Henri and Vieira and Bergkamp on, he's kind of the three of those kind of backing him in a bid for it. Like Henri and Vieira are managers, so like, are they going to kind of give up, or are kind of both of them kind of looking at each other, kind of thinking, is he thinking what I'm thinking, you know, and having designs on getting the top job, you know? If they do get in, it's like with Henri. I'm sure Henri, if you was asking him any club that he'd want to manage, Arsenal would be it.
Dave, I think that I think they're just going to be they'll just be ambassadors at the club. I think they will just have a seat on the board and just have a bit of a, you know, maybe they're looking further along the line with Edu. Maybe they're thinking Edu's not going to be the man for the job, and one of them would be come in as another technical director or a replacement for perhaps. I don't know, but I just want to say a few words on Henry myself. Listen, I mean, I can't split him and Bergkamp. I have to be honest with you. In my garage, I've got a signed Thierry Henry shirt on the year he was Invincibles, and it's framed. And I've moved about 20 times, and every time I move house, that's the first thing that gets wrapped up in a quilt. It has to be completely segregated. It's like my pride and joy. So, he just means a lot to me and my growing up and what he achieved for the club. And the thing is with this Hall of Fame is I see some people going on about Ronaldo's a better player. Okay, if you look at the end of their careers, pound for pound, and it's hard to argue that Ronaldo's not the better player because stats, you can't deny the guy's stats. But if you're what this Hall of Fame is about your impact on the Premier League. Now, when Ronaldo does retire, he'll be eligible to come into this, and naturally he will be inducted. But if you actually look at the impact they had on the Premier League and the English football in the time they were involved, Henry is just levels above Ronaldo in that sense. He had a bigger impact, and he will be remembered for more than just a few goals. And it wasn't about his goals. How many games did he just single-handedly win?
Carry,
that
yeah.
game against Liverpool in the Invincible seasons, it wasn't just the goals. He's got the assist record, which until De Bruyne equaled, I think it was last year, which is unheard of. A striker to be having the most assists is ridiculous. And to be fair to De Bruyne, he could have broke it, and Ozil could have maybe done it at one point, but to even be in the conversation as a striker just showed how much of an impact he had. But for me, he had to be the first, but because Shearer has the goal record, they couldn't do one without the other. So I believe they've done the right thing. I saw Goldbridge earlier campaigning saying that Keane should be next and this and that, and I thought, oh mate, come on, get a grip. But then, as you just said about the fact that we can vote, it just makes a complete. You may as well shut that Hall of Fame now and just say they're the two Hall of Famers, and let's start a new one, because
just
now
embarrassing.
it's just a vote and popularity.
It could go to Michael Owen. There's a lot of Liverpool fans out there. You don't know who's going to be voting on this thing. There's millions.
The power of Twitter, and it's ridiculous. It should be voted by the peers. It should be ex-managers. There should be conversations about people that are actually already in the Hall of Fame. So Shearer and Henry's opinion should be part of it. It should be a lot more than just who's got the biggest Twitter fan base. And I mean, listen, Arsenal Twitter is undefeated, as we know. But I don't feel there are some players that I would happily vote for that, tongue in cheek, I know probably shouldn't go in there before some players of rival clubs. Lampard, for example. I would never vote for Lampard, but Lampard's got to go in there, if you're being honest with yourself. But as I say, Bergkamp, I mean, I looked at that list and straight away I was like, where's Bergkamp? That's going to be my vote. If I'm going to vote, that's the first one I'm going at. But the biasness is just completely, I think, completely kills it, really, if I'm honest with you. But fair play to Thierry Henry.
Definitely. I think it has to go outside of, just goals. And I think even what's going to make it awkward is people are going to go, what players won is going to determine. But I think Henry was so much more. I think obviously with Arsenal, he didn't achieve as much as he should have warranted as a player. Because you look at John O'Shea, for example, has 5 Premier League titles. Is anybody going to vote for John O'Shea to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Gareth Barry's got the most appearances, but can Gareth Barry get in it purely on appearances alone? Ryan Giggs has won the most Premier Leagues, but he can't get in because he's too busy beating everybody up. It's like politics involved, isn't it? There's a lot more to it. Giggs would be a first ballot Hall of Famer, wouldn't he? Giggs would have to be right up there.
Yeah, definitely.
But then you can't. Then people are saying Gerrard can't go in because he didn't win one. But how can Gerrard not go in? Gerrard was a quality player in the Premier League.
Exactly.
While he's in the shout, I just want to give a shout out to Ender because he made up a big point earlier. I made a comment on how Robin van Persie had made it, but Wayne Rooney hasn't. And it was due to the fact that he played this season in the Premier League, not in the Premier League, in football, because he played, I think, twice for Derby before he became manager. So he wasn't eligible, but it was a very good point he made.
To have retired by October, they said.
Yeah,
October
it was
last year. You had
so unlucky for Rooney, though. I think he'll be in the next one, but it's just so unlucky.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's it. Look, if you don't get in this round, you'll get in the future ones. But yeah, lads, look, I think we got through a fair bit here tonight. Like I wanted to end it on, I guess, a more positive note. I don't think there's too much point looking forward to the match. I'm going to give myself a little plug here. Wednesday, 1:00. I will be doing a preview show, the Arsenal Villarreal game, and I do have a really good guest, Jamie Kemble, coming on, who is an author. He's a journalist for Football London, and as a massive bonus, he's also a Villarreal fan and a La Liga expert. So that's going to be a really interesting one. So 1 p.m. Wednesday, an early lunchtime one. So yeah, look, I want to give a big shout out everyone in the chat. As always, the chat box has been hopping there tonight. Really do appreciate it. If you haven't, please do like the video and always subscribe. Check out the guests. You see their Twitter handles below. And lads, just before we wrap up, I'm going to let you say a little piece and let the people know where they can find your socials. So Dan, you can kick us off.
Yeah, Sideline Talk podcast. So we're not just Arsenal based. We speak everything football. Yeah, we can be found on Twitter, your Facebook, Instagram. We've got a giveaway on Instagram at the moment. So if you support England, unlike these two, and you are going to be watching the Euros, come and check it out. Get yourself a shirt. Yeah, you two can come on. You need a new team. But yeah, we're obviously on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. But yeah, come get involved. Cheers for having me on as always, mate.
Yeah, no problem. You won't be invited back after that plug there, then.
Leave it.
Only kidding. No, Dan, as always, absolute pleasure. You'll always be welcome. And Dave, yeah, as Dan said, we won't have the Euros. Probably something we can get into on another stream. They've even taken the games away from us. They've moved it to Wembley and over to St. Petersburg. So we've absolutely nothing now. So like I said, me and you, we're probably going to be doing watch-alongs of Desperate Housewives or something during the summer. We'll have to have a brainstorm. But until then, let the people know where they can find your Twitter and your football content.
Yeah, it's out now, Connor, on Twitter. Look, again, as I say, I haven't done the YouTube side of it in a while. I'm more so the right-hand man on Republic of Arsenal at the minute. So more so, I just enjoying, I suppose, getting on the shows and talking Arsenal, everything like that. It's the best therapy for getting over the defeats of the season, whatever. Look, so thanks again for having me on. And I'm not ever going to buy an England jersey then, or want an England jersey. So you can keep that one, but. No, I'm sure we'll be shouting on Scotland when it comes to the Euros, and so I think we should line up a watch along for that, will we?
I think we might have to. We might have to get in on
the Kieran Tierney's army.
Definitely, we'll have to think of something anyway. And yeah, last but not least, Scott. As always, Scott, I really appreciate you coming along, and I love that you brought the dog along tonight. And he's been very very well behaved dog you have there sitting beside you.
Yeah, Spursy the dog's been pretty good tonight. It was an addition after obviously the Dulux fiasco and was meant to be the lucky charm, but obviously didn't last very long, did it? So won't be appearing too often on the watch-alongs again. But yeah, no, thank you for having me, mate. It's always a pleasure to come on the channel. And yeah, I echo what Anthony's already said. Do subscribe to Anthony's channel. It's some good stuff on here. As far as I go, probably most people in the chat, I think, I've already maybe subscribers, but if you aren't, yeah, my Twitter is the Red Cannon. Same for the channel. I hate promoting myself when I do it like this. I always find it difficult. I find it easier just to put a tweet out. I have to be honest. What do? I do very similar stuff to everybody else, but as you know, I do a bit of fancy, flashy graphics and just try and be a bit cheesy, shall we say, from time to time. But yeah. Check out the channel if
I echo that on what Scott said. By the way, it's not about us; it's about Anthony. Make sure you subscribe. Go on his Twitter as well. He's almost at 1K. How many got left, mate?
I'd say after this stream, I'm probably down a couple of hundred, so I'm probably looking to go back up again.
As soon as you get to 1,000, then I'm going to unfollow you anyway. So it's all the one.
Oh, I love it. I appreciate it. I knew I could count on you, Dave. I knew I could count on you. But I know, lads. Like as you said, I feel, I guess, the same way you feel. You then you said, it's all about me. But I feel like, no. Do you know what? I keep saying this. Like, this show can only be as good as the the panel that come on, and look, I'm generally just here to click the buttons and ask the awkward questions and make an idiot of myself. And you provide the knowledge and the analysis and everything else. And look, a big shout out has to go to everyone that comes in and watches and contributes in the chats, because that's what keeps us going, and that fuels the conversation and that. So look, it's a team effort. We all do it together. We all make fools of ourselves together. So yeah, it's all good. But yeah, look, big shout out to each and every one of you. As always, big shout out to everybody in the chats. Remember, like, share, subscribe, check the guys out. And look, we'll see you. Well, I will see you again Wednesday, 1 p.m. Preview for the Villarreal game. So until then, come on, you.